Disclaimer: I am not a fan of One Piece. I don't dislike One Piece. While the OG anime is too slow-paced for me, it's got solid characters, lore, and politics. I also genuinely enjoyed the live-action series. It's campy, it's entertaining, and it's got heart. But point being, I am not a One Piece fan with a capital F. I didn't watch it during my formative years, so I had mixed feelings when I was innocently scrolling my social media feeds and saw this promo for Season 2 of the live-action One Piece, in which Luffy's actor teaches Elmo from Sesame Street the word NAKAMA.
The word is NAKAMA. Can you say NAKAMA?
NAKAMA!
NAKAMA! Okay, pro tip, if there's a 3-syllable Japanese word, you almost never stress the second syllable. It's not nakama, it's nakama. It's not tempura, it's tempura. It's not sakura, it's okay, fine, I'll stop being an asshole. This is not the first time live-action One Piece used the word nakama in promoting the show. Now, if you're new to One Piece, or anime in general, you may be asking yourself, where does nakama come from? Why is a Mexican actor who portrays a character of ambiguous nationality teaching an American Muppet a Japanese word? To answer that, we have to travel back in time to the early 2000s, when anime was still a niche hobby enjoyed only by nerds. Like other anime of the time, One Piece was licensed by 4Kids and was heavily censored and altered for television. For more information about this, I highly recommend Red Bard's video. So what was anime nerds' answer to 4Kids butchering a masterpiece? Piracy! Enter Kaizoku fansubs, a group of fans who took it upon themselves to release their own subtitled version of One Piece that would be more faithful to the original Japanese version. Now, I can only really speak for myself here, but I'm sure this was true of other fansub translators of that era, including the translator at Kaizoku fansubs. As an early 2000s fansub translator, I left some Japanese words untranslated, mostly out of ignorance and inexperience. Ignorance told me that Japan and the Japanese language were special and exotic, and therefore the best way to authentically represent it is to leave parts of it untranslated. Inexperience told me that many words were simply untranslatable. I would slowly learn over the years that neither of those things are true, but at the time, that seemed to be the conventional wisdom in anime fandom.
And then also, it's very common in these books to note that translation is impossible or insufficient. This is a position that runs throughout all of the text.
So how do I feel about the choice to leave Nakama untranslated today? To answer that, let's just say that inside of me are two wolves. The professional translator in me says,
No! God, please, no!
None of the Straw Hats, aside from Zoro maybe, are Japanese or Japanese coded. You're not making One Piece more authentic by having its non-Japanese cast throw around a random Japanese loanword. But perhaps more egregious is how using and defining a Japanese loanword incorrectly is actually a disservice to Japan, the Japanese language, and Japanese people. I'll let Iñaki illustrate my point.
Nakama is a Japanese word to describe very special friends. Friends who are like family. They care about each other, help each other, and stick together no matter what.
That's not actually what Nakama means. Sure, that's what Nakama means to OG One Piece fans, and that's often the tone the word Nakama took within the context of the show, but that's not actually what Nakama means.
Nakama is a Japanese word to describe very special friends.
No, it isn't. Nakama is a very ordinary Japanese word to describe people who belong to the same group, like co-workers or classmates or members of the same species, people who participate in a common hobby or activity, people who belong to the same region or profession.
Friends who are like family. They care about each other, help each other, and stick together no matter what.
Ah, very inspiring. Friends are like family and they stick together no matter what. It's giving Lilo and Stitch.
Ohana means family.
Unfortunately, this family who stick together no matter what business is also a big stretch. What you'll see if you consult a Japanese to Japanese dictionary and look at the extremely long list of synonyms is that nakama is a bit of a generalization. It really just means you belong to a group. The degree to which you belong can vary, and that's where the nuance comes in.
ナミはな、俺たちの仲間なんだ。
仲間?
だからもう邪魔すんじゃねえよ。
When Arlong is calling Nami his nakama in this scene, what he's really saying is she belongs to me and my people, and the belonging in this sense is as his property. But when Luffy asserts that Nami is his nakama, he's saying she belongs to the Straw Hats, as in she is one of them and has a home with them. Yes, nakama can have nuances of friend and family, but ultimately it really just means that you belong to a group that shares something in common. When I looked up the difference between tomodachi, friend, and nakama on Japanese pages, they all seem to say the same thing, that nakama are people who support and help each other in striving towards the same goal or future, whereas tomodachi are people who talk to each other and are drawn to each other regardless of goals or what they could potentially gain. When you are a team of misfits like the Straw Hats are, nakama does take on a little more significance. Belonging to a group really does mean more to a person when they're an outcast or when the group they belong to is very special. But because of this, as a translator, I think saying something like, Nami belongs with us, or Nami is one of us, captures the vibe a lot better than saying Nami is our friend, or Nami is our nakama.
Sister Nami is a loyal member of the Arlong Pirates.
ナミはね、俺たちの仲間なんだ。
And overall, it would probably be best to translate nakama differently depending on context, since its meaning is highly contextual.
I needed a crew.
Nope, not a crew.
Together.
And making some great new friends.
Over here.
Yeah, you're gonna fit in just fine.
Because no one messes with my friends. We're the Straw Hat Pirates.
So, as a professional translator, I strongly disagree with leaving nakama untranslated, both in One Piece subtitles and in One Piece promo stuff. But as a longtime anime otaku, I kind of fucking love it. What are elder anime fans if not nakama? Most of us were outcasts. Again, let me remind you, anime was not popular in the early 2000s. By using Japanese loanwords we'd learned from fansubs like Nakama, Senshi, Shinigami, Bishonen, Kakkoi, Degozaru yo, Noda, Chan, San-kun, Senpai, etc., we signified that we belonged to a group of people who loved something niche and non-mainstream from overseas. It made us feel special. And it was special. It was this passion and camaraderie from the anime fan community that helped bring anime into the mainstream. And Nakama is proof that the anime industry owes much of its success to fandom. Netflix's decision to use the word nakama in PR for their live-action adaptation of One Piece was a very savvy move. It was their way of signaling to OG One Piece fans, hey, we care about you and we want to make an adaptation you'll love. Whether this sentiment was sincere or profit-driven, I can't say, but either way, it cannot be denied how important fandom has been in popularizing anime, and how fandom of the 90s and 2000s still drives anime today. As one longtime One Piece fan put it, in hindsight, it's kinda silly that Kaizoku fansubs treated nakama as some big untranslatable word. It's not. That being said, I'd be lying if I didn't say I thought it's hilarious that we live in a world where Iñaki Godoy is teaching Elmo how to say it. For a long list of reasons, that would have been unfathomable to me if you had told me 20 years ago that this was going to happen. It's weird to think, in this peculiar way, Kaizoku fansub's legacy is being kept alive 20 years later by live-action One Piece, of all the possible places.
So I can become King of the Pirates!
Anyway, my nakama, like, share, subscribe, resist oppressive governments, and watch One Piece!
You know, everybody else has got a shirt on.